What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, Lions Talk Live, you know what? The weekend is here edition, and that also means you only got a couple days left if you are on the bubble for the Detroit Lions, trying to impress coaching staff, trying to earn your way onto the team. You know what? You've got very limited opportunities still remaining in front of you. We're going to dive into that a little bit today about, hey, what do we think about this Lions team going into the final preseason game, the final joint practice, you know, just hours after the last preseason game, about, 2 days or so. Lions are going to have to make some real tough decisions, as we're all aware when it comes to this team. Now let's Scooby-Doo this one step further. Once those decisions are made, you have limited resources to go out and acquire things should you need things. How do we all now feel about the upcoming season? Because let's face it, after 2 years ago, the Lions made it to the NFC title game. You know what? Came within a snowball's throw of making the Super Bowl. Last year, maybe they get a pass for all the injuries, etc. But you know what? Once again, we've seen a window of opportunity for this team to do something nobody watching Lions Talk Live has ever seen, and that's the Lions in the Super Bowl. What do you think about their chances? We're going to dive into all that, the hard cuts, the hard choices, who's in, who's out, all things in between in today's episode of the show. Before we get there, though, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're making that march for 14,300 subs. We are 73 subs away, if I'm doing the math correctly in my head at this point. So if you can help us out, be one of those 73, I surely would be thankful. Also, if you have a free second of time, it won't cost you even a single dime. Reach on down, smash that thumbs up button, the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 or more thumbs up or likes. Last thing, but most certainly not the least of things, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. You see that number on the screen, 269-998-2384. Yeah, I've had that same phone number, I want to say, since, Nextel or something like that. Been a long time. But I've been a realtor for even a longer amount of time, over 30 years. So if you want somebody who's going to watch your back, make sure you don't get overcharged. No stone left unturned. Go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. This can be for vacant land, commercial property, new house, old house, etc. All things in between. We'll take care of you right as rain. Make sure that you have a good experience with it. All right, all that done, out of the way. Let's get the show rocking and rolling and going. I think we're going to have Kurt the Hitman Steele, Professor Steele here about halfway through the show. I know some of you guys watch it live, some of you don't, so I'm just trying to condition myself to say halfway through the show. Let's get into 5 headlines now. All right, 5 headlines now, and yes, some of them are a little bit more impactful today than other ones, so we'll want to pay attention to that. Kirby Joseph returns to practice. I'd say that's a good thing. Graham Glasgow exits. Defensive line may take longer. SI.com story by John Macron. Good thing is Kirby got out there, and he looked pretty dang decent out there. They did limit him in some areas, but not all areas, so you know what? It's just good to have him back. He's dealing with a knee issue. I'm dealing with a knee issue right now. But Graham Glasgow is dealing with a fully undisclosed leg injury. So we had multiple different people who were at Lions, joint practices yesterday. I know Answer 14 sent me some stuff. Hutch Jr. sent me some stuff. Easy was there. A lot of people were there watching stuff. And about halfway through, Graham Glasgow went to the sidelines, walked off. The good reports were he walked off, didn't show any kind of hitch in his giddy up or anything like that. He wasn't limping. had to go into the training staff room and then into the full facilities. Something happened to one of his lower legs. We don't know the full disclosure of it, but while that did happen, the good news is he walked off on his own power, and again, not showing any kind of ill effects as he was walking to the training facilities. That being all kind of gauged, Graham Glasgow, let's be fair, because of the retirement of Frank the Tank Ragnow, there's a whole lot riding on his health. Last year, he was not healthy. Last year, he was the lowest graded of the Detroit Lions offensive lineman, and that is partially because he was playing out of position. We're going to want to pay attention to that today, tomorrow, etc., because if the situation isn't good there, and if they don't believe the other backups are willing or able to soundly play the center position, Lions might have to make a move here going into the cut-down day. And then also one other thing I want to point out here for this different story, most of you guys watched it, is there are some new red flags, I guess, say, with Josh Pascal. We talked about it lightly yesterday, but it sounds like he's not going to be back anytime soon, maybe even towards the end of September instead of week 1. Josh Pascal, I think we're all speculating what the situation is with him, but you know what? No, nobody's really confirmed it. I'm just going to say if it is what we all assume it is, thoughts and prayers for the young man. One other note with this particular story, Broderick Martin did return after missing 1 day of practice. Let's also be fair. This guy needs to be on the field as much as possible. The fact that he got back out after battling a foot injury after 1 day, I'd say he probably understands the severity of his situation. I think he's really on the roster bubble. And if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I said, nah, this guy's out of here. But then the last 2 preseason games happened, and at least in my opinion, doesn't have to be your opinion, I thought he looked pretty good. Now, if he can do that a third preseason game, I think he might just force his way onto the Lions roster. Maybe one of the last people decided there, but he has shown some flash. He's shown some mobility, some ability to pressure, get after the quarterback. I like where he's trending. I just don't know if he's done enough to really firmly secure a 53-man roster, but I guess we'll find out Tuesday. All right, next to the 5 glorious headlines now. Dan Campbell states his stance on Hendon Hooker, loud and clear. Sideline report, story by Brad Merriman. And as much as I like Hendon Hooker, I'd say Dan Campbell, if he holds true what he said in the presser yesterday, I think we're probably looking at the end of times for Hendon Hooker, at least on the 53-man roster. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Dan Campbell, quote, that's exactly what it is, end quote, Dan Campbell. Resume quote, if you do that, keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster, you lose depth with a defensive line or offensive line or receiver or a defensive back or a linebacker. You get the point. So how important is that relative to other positions? So what's he talking about, MCDC? He's talking about something we've talked about on this show. I want to say it was Anthony from Lions Roar UK asked me, would I keep 3 quarterbacks? My simple answer was, is the third quarterback better than somebody else? Just from a, scale 1 to 10. I would not keep Hendon Hooker at this point. As much as I like the guy, I would have to bring him back and put him on the practice squad. It sounds like that's where MCDC's head's going with it too. Hendon Hooker, he's got tons of upside, but he needs more time to develop, and the Lions are so deep at receiver. Let's throw it out this way. Would you rather cut Tesla? That's not happening. Jackson Meeks, I really don't think that's going to happen. Dominic Lovett, or would you keep Tesla? Now, apply that to the offensive line. Would you feel more comfortable keeping Hendon Hooker, or would you rather get rid of, say, the 10th offensive lineman? I don't know, I guess we want to include the entire defensive line. I mean, you guys get what MCDC is saying, and I think that's really what it comes down to. Do you feel like the team is better by having the third quarterback out there, and that being Hendon Hooker, or keeping one of the players at one of those positions we already named? You guys let me know your thoughts, but it does sound like MCDC is saying, man, if he hasn't earned it by the end of this last preseason game, it ain't going to happen for now, at least. Thoughts and prayers for the young man, because I do like him. I just think, man, we've talked about it all preseason long. You can see the flashes, but it's just not consistent enough. Hendon Hooker, I think, can be a weapon in the NFL. And I'll use for now, just because it's easier to access for most people, Trey Lance. He looked pretty bad in San Francisco. Not great in Dallas, but he's clearly turned things around. Maybe that's the coaching staff for the Chargers. I'll leave that for everybody else to debate, but he looks pretty decent as a backup quarterback now, but it took time to get there. I'll often refer to Warren Moon's needing a little bit of time, did have to go to a different league, then come back here, develop for a year or two, then looked fine. Then you look at other people like Kurt Warner, who, flew around like 50 different leagues before he finally got his opportunity again in the NFL and looked right. I think Hendon Hooker can get there. I just don't think it's going to be right away with the Detroit Lions. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Lions offensive line nightmare just got worse after concerning injury update. Sideline report story by Mike Luciano. I only bring this one back up because we did have it just a moment ago with Graham Glasgow. But to just not go into this one fully, but who would back up or take over the spot for Graham Glasgow? If he misses time or if he underperforms or, man, I don't know, if he just gets beat up like he was last year. Do you guys feel comfortable with 2024 undrafted free agent Kingsley Ukwana? And I know I killed that name, so forgive me. How about Miles Frazier potentially when he returns from injury? Or do you think the Lions just simply need to go out there and acquire somebody else? How dire, good, bad, or indifferent is the situation in the Dew Crew's perspective? If it's me, this is the number one position on the team to still upgrade going into the regular season. I would not sit here and just wait unless the Lions coaching staff really feels good about some of the other options out there. I think it's that type of serious situation where you need to go out there, maybe give up some draft capital or some of these guys you're going to cut and try to acquire somebody to at least be a more sound or competent backup center for the Detroit Lions. Let me know your thoughts, though, if you would be so kind. All right, 5 takeaways from the Lions-Texans joint practice, SI.com, story by Albert Breer. If you haven't seen some of the videos, and I get when you look at Detroit Lions content videos, you know what, the Lions are going to make themselves look good. But with that being said, you watch those videos, you pay attention to the things, the reports coming out, you talk to the people there. Lions look pretty dang impressive yesterday, and I know I put out a video about that. If you went there and watched it, you probably were not disappointed, but a lot of good things. Number one, Jahmyr Gibbs looks like the future All-Pro. I think he's all-world already, but the Texans had a hard time containing him. He got the edge a few times and took it to the house. Keep in mind, for those who aren't aware, these players aren't wearing pads. They're not hitting. They're not slamming into people. They're more or less playing flag football out there without the flags. But just seeing the problems he causes, just no different than last year. He causes a lot of different situational issues for defenses because you're either going to overly commit to the pass, which opens him up more and more, or Dave Montgomery, or you're going to try to shut him down, which opens up the pass. And I think that's exactly what John Morton wants to focus on more and more. The best thing I heard, Derek Barnett getting the crowd involved. The laughter, the surprise when Derek Barnett rolled up on a loose ball after a deflection of Kyle Allen, then punting it into the stands for a lot of celebration. Hey, where I'm going with this, or the reporter, I should say, is going with this, is the Lions and Texans did a lot of things to try to get fans more involved into it, kind of make it a celebration of things. I think that's great for anybody attending. A lot of people have to drive a significant distance to go see these joint practices. And you know what? When the players engage with the fans, I think it just makes it a better experience. So that's kudos out there. Rookie was impressive. Dominic Lovick made his case. So we were talking about the depth of the Lions on wide receiver spot. There were some saying because Lovett missed 10 days, and yeah, that probably doesn't help him. Jackson Meeks did take advantage of that during those 10 days, 2 preseason games. He looked pretty dang good out there, but Lovett made consistent catch after catch and in traffic yesterday. The speed showed, the route running has improved from different reporters' perspectives from when he first arrived to where he is now. So he's showing a lot of upsides, a lot of growth, a lot of development. And it is starting to beg the question, will the Lions almost be forced into keeping 7 wide receivers? That's insane to me to even think about it. But you look at what you'd be cutting and how quickly you would lose it. Maybe there is a case to be said for keeping 7. But if you keep 7, there's no way you're keeping 3 quarterbacks. So I think that kind of furthers the point of MCDC. Veteran press, Stingley is worth every penny. And this is coming from the perspective of the Texans, but Stingley, you guys know Derek Stingley, who plays for the Texans. He did get drilled a couple times by the Lions passing attack, which is good, but he also showed up on tape why the Texans went out and got him. What I thought was impressive when reviewing these notes from the Houston perspective is Houston trying to move him around to shut down St. Brown. Then St. Brown kind of got contained a little bit, but what happened as soon as that happened, You know what? Every other Lions wide receiver had more favorable coverage and roasted the Texans secondary. I'm bringing this up for the simple reason that I think the Lions are going to be forcing several teams into similar situations throughout the year. They are so talented in the passing attack, assuming you can protect Jared Goff and you have a running game. I'm just not sure on the most downs, most passing situations, whether, first and 10, second and, 7, third and 5 or whatever. What do you really do to limit this team? We talked about yesterday's 5 headlines now, how MCDC's kind of changed the game because he's so willing to go for it on fourth down and how that now affects defensive coordinators on third down. The Lions are an interesting dynamic in that they potentially, if Tesla really blooms and if Khalif Raymond stays healthy, could you make the argument they could have maybe 3 guys that could be number 1 wide receivers on a lot of teams? And I'm not putting Khalif Raymond in that mix, but I think if Tesla really develops this year, you could make the argument St. Brown is a number 1 wide receiver. Jameson Williams is number 1 receiver. Maybe to a certain degree, Tesla is too. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section if you would be so kind. All right, last of the 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions path to the 53-man roster. Last word on sports, story by Sue Levine. Sue Levine is talking about all sorts of different things in this one. One, we all know if you're on probably the final, 10 or 13 players on this team, you better really be able to play special teams. This has been confirmed from multiple different reporters who have watched the Lions in recent weeks. You're seeing Tesla get out there a little bit. You're seeing, all sorts of players for the Lions have to get some reps on special teams because somebody's got to play it. And if you guys know, if you watch this show for any length of time, I was a big fan of James Houston. I thought James Houston going into year 2, could really break out. Unfortunately, he broke his leg, broke his ankle, and that really seems to have derailed his career. With that, somebody's got to be out there. I think the Lions are testing the waters with Dominic Lovett, Tesla, although I don't really think, unless some situational stuff happens, Tesla is going to be out there much. But they're trying to see what players can play both their positions, special teams. That's going to be a big ad for somebody. All right, players who could claim a roster spot on the Detroit Lions. Kalia Dorsey, you want to see what kind of value the Lions coaching staff puts in this guy. He's back day 1, and normally you edge people, kind of bring them along slowly from returning from injury to getting to things. He was the starting gunner day 1 of returning. They have that kind of belief in him, and that's why I do think he's going to make it. Reynolds also featured a lot on special teams. I did have some questions going into training camp if Craig Reynolds would make the team, but I think at this point it's safe to say he will be the solid number 3. Vaki, he's going to play special teams. He's been playing all over the place. I guess there was even a couple reps yesterday. Check this out. He played linebacker. Not making that up. It's right there. They played him in different spots and just limited snaps. It sounds like he played 5 reps as a linebacker. I don't know the full extent of that, but he's looked good now that he's back from the leg injury as a running back, but also played a little bit of linebacker yesterday. Grant Stewart, everybody had some questions about him when we added him, but I don't think anybody has questions about him anymore. He might be all over the place as far as playing defense, special teams, returning kicks, selling popcorn, nachos, and Mountain Dews in the stands. Nick Whiteside continues to make his case for the 53-man roster. And I get it. He busted up 2 passes yesterday. He recorded 8 tackles, in the last preseason game. And all he does is continue to develop and shine. There were Lions fans that had questions about Rocky Singh. Let me tell you, this guy's not going to get cut. Nothing there. He's going to be a big heavyweight for the Detroit Lions. But Whiteside, trying to compete for that final cornerback spot, or I guess you could just say DB spot. I think the Lions have an interesting situation with a lot of the people competing there because so many of them can play either corner or safety, inside corner, outside corner, X or whatever, outside wide or slot corner. It'll be interesting to see if they go with Whiteside. I like him. I think the Lions have a ton of options and tough options to make there, just decisions-wise. Wide receivers, Tesla, Dominic Lovett, Jackson Meeks. If you would have asked me in the start of preseason, I would have said there's about a 5% chance all 3 rookies make the team. Do you still think it's 5%? I don't. I'd say there might be a case to say it's something like 80%. Yes, Tim Patrick has been a little bit beat up. Yes, he's on a 1-year deal. There's a lot of reasons why people have talked about him being traded or cut. I still struggle to think that there's a reality where the Lions keep 3 rookie wide receivers on the 53-man roster. But then again, you look at all 3 of these rookies, and would you really want to cut any of them? I don't know. I will be interested to see what your guys' thoughts on it. Here's the last one I got. It's a 2-for-1. Jacob Sailors, Ian Kennelly. I know Attila the Hun is going to say Ian Kennelly should be on the team no matter what. And I don't disagree. He's big. He's got range. He's got speed. And you know what? He's getting more and more first-team reps. When Kirby Joseph was gone, he was getting a ton of first-team reps, or at least I should say an increasing amount on a daily basis. He's 6'2.5". He's 205 pounds. You know, he's got a 4.5 in the 40-yard dash. But what I like is you see how he's growing and developing, recognizing plays out there. He seems to be gaining that at an exorbitant pace. I think he's got a real strong chance to make it. Let's see, you got Jacob Sailors. Again, another situation with a different position for this team. You can't keep everybody. If you keep Sailors, who do you cut? It's not going to be Vaki. It's not going to be Reynolds. It's really not going to be Gibbs or Montgomery. So can he keep 5 running backs? Can he keep 7 wide receivers? Can he keep 29 cornerbacks or secondary personnel? The Lions have more talent than they know what to do with. And it'll be just, man, I would not want to be Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell come Tuesday, but choices are going to have to be made. Who do you guys have in? Who do you have out? There'll be a lot of these guys that we've mentioned I don't even think are going to play in the final preseason game. So some of the other guys are going to play. That'd be my guess that some positions already been kind of locked up. All right, you guys heard me ramble on for too long. Let's get on over to the Duke Crew comment section before Professor Steele educates us and educates me on everything I've been wrong about, probably. So let me get to the top of the screen. All right, almost there. Here we go. JDC, morning all. Back at you. Bo, good morning, Duke Crew. Take on me. Woo! That is a good song. Until then, we have one, if not the best offenses in the NFL, but I think the defense actually will impress us more. And I think you're right. I get we can't talk about the X and O's. I mean, that's the tough part when you show any coach or anybody who's coached for a while enough highlights, you start figuring things out. I would say based on the highlights I've seen and some of the things described to me by different ones of you out there, I think the Lions are going to use a lot of, I guess what's a good way to put it, a lot of 7 secondary personnel. So I think they're going to do that intentionally on 2nd and long, 3rd and long. 1, to create a more difficult passing situation, but I think they're going to blitz more out of it. That's also my opinion based on what was described to me yesterday about Vaki. I think Vaki, we all know in college he was running back, he was a cornerback or a safety, I should say. I think Kelvin Shepard might have tipped his hand a little bit yesterday that, this dude can run, he can fly, he can blitz outside wide and get to the quarterback. Until then, as long as they get and keep healthy, nothing can stop them. I concur. Bo, the real question, is the NFL ready for the challenge of the Lions? Question mark. Oh, yeah, I'm down with that. And I think there will be a lot of people trying to challenge. But you know what? Everybody's got a plan till you punch them in the mouth. That's a Mike Tyson quote for those who don't know. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. Time to rise and shine on the season. I think we are going to be very balanced. I think we are. And again, we keep talking about who do you keep, who do you get rid of. Man, you got depth everywhere on this team. Other than maybe center. We'll see if that holds out, though. Johnny L., good morning, folks. Good morning, Johnny. How you doing? Bo, I heard a lot of whistling past the cemetery by everyone. Yeah, there could be a lot of people who's, unfortunately, their time with the Detroit Lions might be, coming to an end. Hookadoo, good morning, Duke Crew. One pride, bring back Z, opposite of Hutch. We got it made. Exclamation. Oh, yeah, I'm down with that. To your point, I'm trying to remember who the beat reporter was yesterday, but they said, hey, Brad Holmes continues to talk about Lions making some sort of move to add to the edge position. I didn't run it in the stories today, but it was on my pop-ups or notifications this morning. I was like, we kind of beaten that one up. Let's see if something more corroborated comes out. Just sounds like we had a very good first day of practices with Houston. I don't think Green Bay or Chicago will have a chance. I hope you're right, my friend. If we start the year 2-0, and 2-0 in the division, I think that's going to be a massive win for us. Jenna, you must be reading my mind, Hookadoo. Sometimes that happens. Drake, as long as we can run the ball and protect off, I don't foresee another North team winning the division over us. Let me know if I'm wrong for that. No, I think, it's no disrespect to the other teams. I mean, we're Lions fans, so we're always going to take shots at the other teams. I think Ben Johnson is probably going to do a pretty good job in Chicago. I've said this before, so not breaking news, but I think the Minnesota Vikings outside Lions have the overall best amount of talent. I'm just not sure if, a rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, can supersede what we're doing. Green Bay, hey, Jordan Love, who are you? Are you the guy we saw 2 years ago for 8 games that just totally stunk? The guy 2 years ago that we saw for 8 games looked all world. Last year, I get he was a little beat up, this, that, whatever, but you know what? He has been inconsistent. I think that's the fair way to say it. If he becomes more consistent, Green Bay is going to be a problem. If he isn't, then you know what? They'll be good one moment, not so much the next. Well, I remember all the bold talkers before they entered the ring with Tyson. Everyone has a plan. Hey, we think alike. Look at Johnny L has entered the building. Let that grit run loose. Let it run, my friend. JDC, smiling piece, Erie, plan B. I'll take that. Pierce, a lot of feelings of last year have been creeping up. With the injuries, I get it, man. I get it 100%. Biggity, I think Green Bay is the biggest threat in division. Maybe the Vikings if JJ works out. Yeah, the Vikings have put a lot of chips in the center of the table on an unknown quantity. But when they know J.J. McCarthy better than any of us, they watch him practice, develop, etc. They must have a certain kind of level of confidence in him. JDC, go Lions, go Tigers. I like the way you're thinking. Pierce, the practice squad has never been more important this year. Still dealing with last year injuries and already a flurry of new injuries from camp alone. Yeah, that's probably accurate. Yeah, a lot of people are having PTSD from last season. But both run hard, 2 back sets, hit the middle, and throw deep. Exclamation point. Take the ball away. Sounds like a plan. It does indeed. If the Lions could get turnovers every time the other team has the ball, man, I don't think we'd lose. Let's see, Pierce. And after hearing Pascal will be later than expected, we need a roster spot for Z. I hope we get this thing to rest. If we haven't signed him at this point, I really feel like if he's going to return, it's going to have to be after the Green Bay game. Trey, what's good, everybody? Question mark. I read Glasgow got hurt in practice. Question mark. I don't know. I think our biggest need is still a new center. I agree, and it's nothing against Graham. I like him, but he was so beat up last year. He had, I want to say his pass blocking grade last year was under 50. I mean, that's not good by any measuring stick. But he was pulling out of position. I trust Hank Fraley. I trust the coaching staff. If they haven't pulled the trigger on getting somebody else in here, then you know what? I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. JDC, Pierce Sargent, just as long as your shorts and socks don't creep up, I'll take that. Hookadoo, yep, Pierce, that injury bug has been creeping around in my mind also from last year. There you go. Pierce, JDC, laughing out loud. Jess, greetings, salutations, Duker. Every team has some injuries going on by this point in camp. Are those injuries make or break this year? I don't think there's been any real, maybe you say Levi's injury, but to be fair to Rakestraw, I don't think we're counting on him a ton this year. Ahmed Hassanin, it sounds like he's going to be okay at some point this year. How long that's going to be, who knows? But if the only thing I'll say with Ahmed and then Rake is just that it's slowing down their development. Kerry, what's up, new crew? Hope all is well. Same to you. Pierce, I don't know till Coach Dan said we can designate 4 guys on the practice squad that can't be poached. Those designations will be critical. Yeah, and I believe that's correct number 4, that whoever you put on the practice squad, you can protect 4 different people to just try to make sure no other team can poach them, etc. So, yeah, I'm sure the Lions will take full advantage of that. JDC, injury gods, be nice. We'll see what they do. Xavier, greetings, salutations, everyone in YouTube land. Hope the Duke crew is blessed! Exclamation point. Go Lions. Woo! Man, same to you. Trey Triplin, I'm not sold on Graham. Has to be someone better out there. I'm not sure. But the other part is, if there is somebody better out there, can he get that team to give him up? That's probably the more interesting question. Pierce, Jess Lynn, we seem to get worse than most, and I would say yes, because if one starter goes down on the edge, it's last year all over again with the second and third string guys not being ready. Okay. Bo, Brad has set a new precedent on how to use the practice squad. It's not. It's now more like the vet squad. Yes, and they do call it the vet squad. Johnny L, I guess I don't have any words today. Laughing out loud. It happens, man. Dave, sup, Duke crew, exclamation point, question mark. Enough preseason, get to the real season. I think we're all chomping at the bit for that, my friend. JC, getting real to D, go Lions. We're back at you. Johnny L, I'm not feeling so good today, so I'll just listen in. Hey, listen on in. Hope you feel better, my friend. Hookadoo, just relax, Johnny. Grit will come creeping up on you. Might be true. Susan Scott, do we know yet? And when Hassanin will return? No, nothing official. At least if I missed it, I'm not aware of it. Anymore. Good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke Crew. What a team. What a podcast. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! Back at you. Steve Rogers, good morning, Duke Crew and Coach Dan, back at you. Jennifer, good morning, all. Same with you. Mary Smith, good morning, Duke Crew and Lions fans. Johnny, hope it's nothing serious. Feel better. Prayers sent your way. Yes, we're all praying for your speedy recovery. All right, guys, it's about that time to bring on the man on deck. He's standing there. He's ready to swing the big bat. He is Professor Steele. Let's see what he has to say about some of these roster spot concerns. Professor Steele is in the house. How you doing?
What up, dude? What's going on, man? And yeah, in the chat, man. I was dying. We got a private joke going on. Don't mind us, but it was absolutely hilarious. Man, good morning. Okay. You and the Duke Crew.
Good morning to you too. So we've got just a couple days left. Tuesday, we all know 4:00 Eastern Standard Time. Lions are going to have to make some tough decisions. You start looking at this team. You start hearing about, Lovett yesterday kind of having himself a bit of a game against the Texans. Let's start with the wide receiver room. Who makes it? Who's out? How many do you keep?
And I was just looking at this, man, because I was working on getting ready for my show today, doing some bubble roster talk. Wide receivers, you got to keep. You got to keep 6.
Okay.
You got to keep 6.
We got.
And I have to agree. I'm taking my. I'm going off of my man Risden off of Out There Lions Wire. I agree with his list. He's got St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Tesla, Raymond, Meeks, and Lovett.
3 rookies. You imagine that, man? So what do you think the team does with Tim Patrick then? They just cut him, let him walk, or do you think they try to trade him?
Either try to put him as a protected practice squad player.
Okay.
Possibly. And it's, and I hate to say that, but I think that with the time he missed, even yesterday, he was playing with the 2s. He wasn't playing with the 1s. Tesla was playing with the 1s. I'm just saying. I mean, we'll see if he plays tomorrow afternoon, then we'll know that he's in a roster spot fight.
It's too bad, man. But yeah, per what you were just saying, heard that Raymond has played with the 1s. Tesla Law has been playing with the 1s. Just it's not a good look for him. But Tesla has been playing out of his mind. Meeks has been playing out of his mind. Raymond, he's I think from the 20 to the 20. Man, his speed shows up. And then, of course, he got Lovett, too. So, I don't know. All right, Graham Glasgow might have suffered some level of injury. Don't know much about it. But the big question after coming off last year, he was beat up the vast majority of the season. If you're Brad Holmes, are you looking around for somebody else to bring in at the center spot?
Man, absolutely. Because the other guy you brought in, Tristan Colon, he's out hurt, too. So, I mean, I don't think it's anything serious with Graham Glasgow. From what you reports that I was listening earlier, and then from what I was reading yesterday at Atlanta Park, he was kind of gingerly walking, but it wasn't like anything terrible. It wasn't like he was just so broke up, and it had to come cart him off the field. Maybe probably stepped on his foot or maybe twisted his ankle or something like that. It was something minor. It wasn't something that was going to keep him out for a long time. And then of course he wasn't going to play tomorrow afternoon anyway. So. Right. He's got a couple weeks to get right before the start of the season. So,
if you were to be as analytical as you could be, educate us with your thoughts here. What are the biggest weaknesses on this team?
Has to be that interior offensive line. Still, it's got some depth issues. I have to say that they haven't had much success running the ball in the interior against our defense or even against the Texans. I don't think they even did it well against the Dolphins. On the edges, they can get the tackles you can get to the edge with Jahmyr Gibbs. He just has that. And of course, on the right side, you can run towards Penei Sewell is never a bad thing to do, but. Yeah, I just think that getting that the interior offensive line set where they really want it to be, and having that injury to Glasgow did not help yesterday either. So that's my biggest weakness. I think that on the defensive side of the ball, pretty solid. I mean, like you look at their defense, man, what they're doing. You look at even like the backups cornerbacks. Look at the backup cornerbacks we had last year, and then what we have this year. I'm like, man, that's a big step up. Very much a good depth in what we have. I'm like when we have it at the both levels of the front seven with the defensive line and the linebackers. I mean, we got a couple of linebackers that have starting experience. I think all three of the backups have starting experience. So that's second year. I mean, like we got 6 guys on a linebacking core, maybe even 7 with when you bring Rodrigo back that can start.
Right. All right. So you talked about the depth in the linebackers, and I get, Kelvin Shepard's probably going to do some things differently than Aaron Glenn. But now talk about the secondary, because it seems like everybody they've signed with almost zero, exclusions here. If you're going to play in the secondary, whether safety or cornerback, you're playing both spots. Who do you think wins out to be one of the cornerbacks and one of the safeties?
Ooh.
They all seem like Swiss Army knives to me, man.
Yeah, because and I was down on him when I first saw him play, and that was Hallett. And I saw him against Atlanta, he was kind of bad. But when I saw him against the Dolphins, he was definitely playing a lot better. And he can play all 3 positions in the secondary, so I like that. So I think he's a guy you may want to keep around. And then on the safety position, this guy has to be the rookie Keneally for depth. Of course, Lawrence Strickland's out. So, but Keneally's big. He's strong, man. That kid's he's a truck. He's a big hitter too. So, and you can slide him down to play maybe a bigger line. The small linebacker, big nickel type of role. So those are 2 guys I would look around, keeping around.
So you just talked about Keneally. However, I'm not saying it right. Look at the Lions' undrafted rookies this year. And they've always had a history of hitting on a few guys here. But when you look at Meeks, when you look at this kid and some of the other guys, Cooper Jr., what are they doing to find all this talent? And I get these guys might not be Hall of Famers or something like that. But the fact that you're consistently hitting on guys that might make the 53 and you got them for nothing, talk about these guys. What are they doing to find them? I
mean, you have that goes to credit to Brad Holmes and his scouting department and how he, teaches his scouts what he's looking for in players. And you look at what they're doing. I mean, you even look back to like Jerry Jacobs, that he was an undrafted free agent, and those guys, man, he has a history of hitting on those guys. Even if they're not long-term solutions, man, they're part of their key contributors throughout, maybe the first couple of years of their career. So, I mean, and some guys go on to play elsewhere, but I like those guys. Keith Cooper, I think we talked about on our show. He has an old school name, but he has a new school game, and I like what he does. And it's going to be one of those things that where you look at these young players, man, and they get their opportunity in Detroit, and not saying that they're going to make it here, but they're going to probably make it somewhere just because they had the opportunity to come to Detroit, and they gave them the opportunity to shine and put some good things on film.
You look at the defensive line for the Lions, we're talking about depth everywhere. We're talking about the curious case of Broderick Martin. In the last 2 preseason games, I think most fans would say, you're actually starting to see something out of him. Do you think this guy makes it? Do you think he's going to be cut? What would you do if you're running the team?
Hey, man.
No wrong answer.
Nice firm handshake, man, and a gift bag on the way out the door.
Who you keep at the defensive tackle spot?
Can't give that away just yet, man, because I'm doing my bubble roster thing on my show here live at 8:00. So yeah, but the guys that I think are ahead of him that are reserve type players, I'm looking at Lopez, I'm looking at Miles Adams, and it doesn't help that Mekhi Wingo's back.
Guess who's back again? Mm-hmm. No, here, wait a minute, real quick for you, just because I want to give you a plug here. Everybody watching, go to Boss Up Ball out at 8 a.m. to try to find out the
Mm-hmm.
breaking news who Professor Steele is going to be keeping on the roster. All right, there you go. All right, now let's talk real quick about the running back room because, hey, Sailors, man, this kid looks like he's got something. The Lions seem to, again, have a gluttony of talent everywhere. If you were the Lions, do you make any surprise cuts there to keep him, or do you think they're only going to roll 4 running backs?
Yeah, as much as this pains me to say this, I don't think he makes it just because of the fact that the guys that are established ahead of him on the roster. That's a tough decision for me because I like Vaki and I like Craig Reynolds.
Yeah.
If you ask me who's performed out of those 3 guys better in the preseason, I'm going to say Jacob Saylor has performed the best out of the 3. Now, the caveat that is that he's played against the lesser competition in the preseason. So that's the only caveat I have with that. But I like Jacob Saylor's, man. It's going to be hard to see him get cut. But hopefully they can bring him back on a practice squad or something like that.
Right. All right. And then the quarterback position, Dan Campbell did kind of talk about it. You know, I know you and I have talked about it before. Do you keep Hendon Hooker in order to cut a valuable player somewhere else? Do you cut Hendon Hooker and try to re-sign with the practice squad? Or could it be door number 3, Alex, in that, hey, we're looking for a player to be named later to come in and be either quarterback number 2 or 3?
I think you solidified with Allen and being number 2 behind Jared Goff. Do I keep him? At this point, I'm not. I can't look at what he's done in the preseason and say I'm like, hey, you got to keep this guy on the roster. I'm not sold on him on the roster. So you keep Allen, you keep, of course, JG's the starter, and you look elsewhere. Like Broderick Martin, nice firm handshake, and a Lions gift bag on the way out the door.
All right, good gift bags are still available. All right, so now let's talk about the Lions' upcoming season. You know, you've heard, or at least I've heard, perhaps people say the Lions are Super Bowl contender. I've had other people say, man, Lions aren't even going to make the playoffs this year. You've had a month to kind of digest the preseason, see the games, see the roster evolve. Where do you think at this point, as we enter basically as close to a padded practice as you can have when the final preseason game, where do you think the Lions stand across the NFL?
Lions are right where they were at last year, just healthy. I mean, like I don't understand all these people and these, it's going to be these big changes and everything's going to, the sky is falling. Like the Lions have, what is it? The majority of their starters. I mean, it's only like 2 or 3 players that are starting this year that weren't starters last year. Right. Maybe. I mean, this roster hasn't. I mean, the guys are still there, and you're getting healthy. You're getting the guys back. Like you look at Mekhi Wingo and now Khalil Dorsey coming off the PUP list, and then you have guys. You got Hutch back, and then like a guy like Wingo coming back so early. Because he wasn't expected to come back as soon as he has. I mean, you have some guys that went out, but you guys got guys coming back. So absolutely. I'm looking at this roster like I don't get it why people are sleeping on the Lions, but Lions are NFC contenders and they're going to contend for Super Bowl again this year.
In the NFC North, we've got some people saying, hey, Green Bay is going to be the biggest threat. Chicago's going to be the biggest threat. Minnesota, J.D. McCarthy going to be the biggest threat. I don't know how much you've paid attention to the rest of them, but give me your thoughts on the rest of the NFC North.
Green Bay's probably, I think they stayed pat. I mean, like they didn't upgrade their secondary at all. Their secondary is still, actually they lost their best corner.
Right.
And okay. They got Xavier McKinney, but he can't cover everyone. So, and so they kind of stay pat that second, third. I think they may be the second team. I think the team that takes a step back is Minnesota. I don't have a lot of faith in the second-year quarterback who's never run a pro-style passing system. Where you look at what he did at Michigan, and I love J.J. McCarthy at Michigan because I'm a Michigan guy. But you look at him and look at what he did at Michigan. They were a run-first team. You never had to put the team on his arm, and that's what the Vikings is. They have a pretty potent passing attack, and if he can't get the ball to his receivers, and people they say him making these plays in practice, but it's against a vanilla defense. So, what do you happen when they start mixing coverages and stuff like that? So I think they take a step back. And Chicago's going to be Chicago. They're going to be overconfident. They're going to be think of it like the Bears fans, and they're going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're not. The Ben Johnson offense is complex, and you look at how long it took Goff to kind of get this offense. You think Caleb Williams can get this offense in one offseason? Absolutely not. They're going to be where they're going to be.
Well, all right, sir. I know you got about 14 minutes till you're on air, so I'll get you on out of here and get you on over to the Boss Up Ball Out. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where to find you, locate you, support you in all your efforts with the Lions.
Hey, man, you can check me on the Boss Up Ball Out podcast coming up here at 8 o'clock, man. And I have a special announcement. I told you you're going to see me somewhere else, and I reveal that today at 8 o'clock over on the Boss Up Ball Out podcast.
All right, well, I'll be tuning in to see the surprise announcement. All right, Kurt Steele, thank you as always for joining us on a Friday morning. Hopefully you have a great day, and thanks for making time out of yours to be a part of the Duke Crew.
Hey, not a problem, man. We'll see you guys at 8 o'clock.
We'll be tuning in, man.
Later.
All right, let's get over to you guys and let's see what Kurt has to say here in a couple minutes. Thomas, that's Dre Day. Okay. WTMN TV. I'm not keeping Lovett over Quan. Tim Patrick Maine. Okay, we'll take him off the list then. Tim Patrick, I think Broderick Martin will actually make the team. I've liked what I've seen, man. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to overcome some other people, but that'll be part of it. I do expect Broderick Martin's going to be put on the field for this final preseason game, and it might be the make or break moment of his career. I mean, if he has another strong outing where he kind of changes the coach's perspectives a little bit, maybe this young man can live up to some of the hype when we traded up to get him. If he has a bad outing, though, that's probably the nail in the coffin. You have to keep 6. I'm assuming the Rebel is talking about wide receivers. Dre Day, was Meeks or Lovett playing with first? Just saying. I don't remember offhand, but I'd have to check on that. I just don't want to give you bad information, Dre Day, so let me look into that. James, the Lions need to hit on all cylinders in the next NFL draft because we need to replace Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, and find another quarterback to eventually replace Jared Goff. Yeah, could be on all those. 100% there, James. Dre Day, Tim Patrick will be on the Lions first last year. Okay. We'll be on the, all right, there you go. Thomas Lovett or Patrick, question mark. Oh, nah. Patrick is a proven, but put him on practice squad, he will get plucked. And yes, unless he's one of the protected ones. The Rebel, I think you have to start Tesla. There you go. Maybe. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. Let's assume for a moment we keep Patrick, Raymond, Tesla. Then, man, I would assume it would be Raymond, like at the start of a series, because it seems like Morton's been trending that way. But you get closer to the red zone, maybe that's where they take out Raymond and put in a Tim Patrick or Tesla, just because their size, etc. Brett, see Patrick to the practice squad. We'll find out. Kim, center and backup quarterback are the biggest concerns in your opinion. Might be accurate. Dre Day, are you not wrongly technically? You're not wrong technically. I'll take that. Scary. Dre Day, agreed. Tim Reaper, the best part of waking up is Lions Talk Live and some Mountain Dew in your cup. I like the way you're thinking. Thomas, start Tesla, not yet. After the bye week, possibly. Yeah, could be. Let the coaches decide that. General, peace out, y'all. See you in the morning. We'll see you then. Mary Smith, Johnny L, have a good one. Feel better. See you in the morning. We'll see you then. Brent, take care and feel better. Johnny, Thomas, hate to say it, but if Glasgow can miss 3/4 day, could be a good thing before Green Bay. Maybe indeed. Hookadoo. Later, Johnny. Trim Reaper, later, Johnny. Carrie, agreed. Thomas, Carrie, get better, Johnny. Thomas, just throwing this out there, exclamation point. Most important DB we have, Branch. He can play anywhere on the back end. Yes, indeed. And I'm being attacked by a fly live on air. So he's been attacking me for about 10 minutes now. The Rebel would love to see Goff for a series or two. I wonder. I don't think Dan Campbell's going to do it. It just doesn't seem like a Dan Campbell decision. He views the joint practices as the preseason reps. Dre Day, Branch is important, but DJ Reed is probably the most important since he will be covering the number one receiver for the opposite team. Yep, there you go. Branch is our X factor on defense. I concur. Thomas, look, if we're very talented, exclamation point. But remember, in all of our games in preseason, the third team played not good. Okay. Melissa and Fisher, everyone have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend. Exclamation point, go Lions. Hope you have a great one as well. Mike the Marine Gunny, howdy Dan and Duke Crew. Woo! Same to you. Gary, in your opinion, I was ignorant to say trade him for anyone. Thomas, all right. Thomas, bye-bye, Martin, unless there is an injury in the last game. We'll find out. Trim Reaper, for all of those here at Lions Talk Live, stay classy, Planet Earth. We'll see you then on Planet Earth. Thomas, Brent, 100% on Branch. Dre Day, I get why they say Branch is in the trade since no team has ever had two high-paid safeties, but still nothing I would endorse. Yeah, I don't think he's going to go anywhere because Brian Branch, we talk about the Detroit Lions coaching staff wants versatility out of their players when they can, and you do think about it. He can play slot corner. He can play either safety. They play him sometimes as the weak side Sam in certain situations. The fact you're getting basically 4 spots out of him, that's pretty good value. And at an incredibly high level. Brett, agreed, Gary, stupid trade idea. Yep, there we go, stupidest, excuse me. Thomas, Gary, absolutely. I'm not trading Branch ever. I would agree. Johnny Gas Sports, what's happening, Duke Crew? Happy Friday. Back at you, Gas Man. How you doing? Trim Reaper, there's Johnny. Yep, 100%. Hey, Trim. Trim Reaper, what up, though, bro? Gary, Gasman in the house, 1,000%. Thomas, Lions, barring mass injuries, 13-4 in the Super Bowl. I like it. I like it indeed. James might as well give Kobe Sorsdale his handshake and say farewell to him and Broderick Martin. Unfortunately, it might be true. And to think he took Scoresdale instead of Puka Nacua. Things happen. Gary, my call, 14-3. Thomas, I'm bummed Corey got hurt. Why? Question mark. He's not great, but he can play anywhere on that old line. Yes, that's where I'd say Sorsdale's value really was, is that his versatility. John, tight end. Bo, 14-3. Carey, exclamation point. Oh, yeah, 100%. Trim Reaper. Ben is a Johnson. Could be accurate. Carey, thank you. James Allen. The Rebel, I love Kennelly's motor. I think we all do, man. 100%. Hookadoo, agreed. 14-3. Lions roar. Carey, agreed. Trim Reaper is laughing. The Rebel, I love Kennelly for the Lions, period. Exclamation point. Trim Reaper, see you soon, Professor. We'll see him then. Coach Tanya K, hey, crew. Hey, Coach, how you doing? Thomas, 2 most important on the D-line, health-wise, Hutch and DJ Reader. Might be a very accurate statement. Breaking news, boss up, ball out is serving. Exclamation point. I'm down with that, Bo. Thomas, Martin must be clearly the best defensive line on the field tomorrow, or bye-bye. I'll take that. Brent, bend over and bear down Johnson for week 2. Exclamation point. Beat down incoming. Oh, yeah. Amy, see y'all on game day. Go Lions. We'll see you then. Coach Tiny K, feel better, Johnny. There you go. Derek, after attending 2 practices and watching all the preseason games, I believe the offensive line is the weakest link. Might be true. We'll see what they do. See if they do anything before week 1 of the regular season. JDC, happy trails. Go Lions victory. And back at you. Gary, heavy trails, stay safe and have a good Friday. Go Lions. Oh, yeah. All right. See, Mark, Bromar is making the team. Let that sink in. I'll let it sink. Bro, happy trails, Duke Crew. All done and dusted for another day. Friday. See you later. We'll see you then, my friend. All right, guys, if there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you guys as soon as possible. If you would be so kind before checking out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being. We'll see you guys on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.